Noise.
That's just it. There's not enough noise. I'm used to working in a sort of dull roar. Never thought I'd miss it.
I'll remind you of that next time you're telling Todd and Katie to keep it down. Hello? Annette, how are you? Oh, we're all fine. Todd's gone to the movies with his girlfriend and Katie's over at Sonia's house. A part-time job? That's terrific. Oh, I see. Well, I don't know. It's such a shock. Yes. All right. Yes, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Yeah, take care. Bye.
Something happened to Annette?
No, she's fine. Very happy, in fact. She says she's finally got her life organised again and she's feeling really strong again.
Yeah, well, what was all that about a shock?
She wants Todd and Katie back with her. Permanently.
Neighbours, everybody needs good neighbours. Just a friendly wave each morning helps to make a better day. Neighbours need to get to know each other. Next door is only a footstep away. Neighbours, everybody needs good neighbours. With a little understanding, you can find the perfect blend. Neighbours should be there for one another. That's when good neighbours become friends.
Matthew Broderick joins Wogan this Wednesday. Then,
I'm a doctor. Scout honor.
The Trials of Life at 8 investigates how animals find their way.
Lines join together into longer lines. Sometimes 60 lobsters will be marching one behind the other.
And no creepy crawlies, fish or fowl at 10 to 9, just your wit and wisdom.
Carrot cops it at 9:30.
But I can't see anything. Must be another hoax. I had a penny for every hoax cast that I've been called out on. You'd have 9pence.
Paul Hodkinson defends his European featherweight crown in Sports Night at 10.
Hoist it. Next on the left. That's it.
That's a one-way street.
It's diplomatic immunity, old man.
Richard Gere stars with Michael Caine in The Honorary Consul at 11:10.
Have you spotted him?
Wednesday on 1.
The government has just announced what it thinks our poll tax bills should be for next year, but how much will we actually end up paying? We'll be assessing the situation in half an hour's time. And the pilot sucked out of his plane in mid-air took off again for the first time since the accident. For all the Midlands news, join us for Midlands Today.
The next generation aboard the Enterprise is rendered powerless above an unknown planet on BBC2 shortly. This is BBC1.
The 6 o'clock news from the BBC with Peter Sissons and Moira Stewart.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. The government says the community charge in England next year should be no higher than £380. The Environment Secretary warns he'll take tougher action against high-spending councils. More strong words from President Bush. He says he's had enough of Iraq's brutality. In Dublin, Charles Hockey's government could be voted out tonight. And back to work, the pilot who was pulled back from death. But first, President Bush says he's had it with what he called Iraq's brutal treatment of Americans in Kuwait. He said Iraq had cut off water and power to the US embassy in Kuwait City and claimed our people are being starved by a brutal dictator. This afternoon, Iraq's ambassador to the United States insisted that a negotiated settlement to the Gulf crisis was still possible. From Washington, Gavin Esler.
On the campaign trail in Virginia, the president, while still committed to a diplomatic solution, warned his patience is evaporating over the stalemate in the Gulf and particularly Iraq's treatment of Americans in Kuwait.
The American flag is flying over the Kuwaiti embassy, and our people inside are being starved by a brutal dictator. And do you think I'm concerned about it? You're darn right I am. And what I'm going to do about it, let's just wait and see. Because I have had it with that kind of treatment of Americans. And I know others feel that way. I know Margaret Thatcher feels that way about the Brits. And I think the whole world feels outraged by this.
Then, on his return to the White House, Mr. Bush said Secretary of State Baker's major diplomatic mission to the Allies this weekend will discuss all the options against Iraq.
There's no compromise. There is no compromise with this aggression. And the Allies are together on this.
Meanwhile, Baghdad's Washington ambassador revealed what he called an economic conspiracy against Iraq by the United States and Kuwait, dating from 1989. Then he called for a peaceful solution.
You should wait this attack sacrificing American boys for nothing, and you will have the animosity of all grassroots Arab for decades to come.
Despite that, Mr. Bush has been consulting his top military advisors about the next moves, appropriate troop levels, and how to aid the Americans in the Kuwaiti embassy. After today's statements, there are still mixed signals from the White House, a constant emphasis that diplomacy must be used until exhausted, and yet a growing sense that such exhaustion cannot now be far away. Gavin Esler, BBC News, Washington.
In Baghdad, a high-ranking Iraqi official has again warned that an American attack is likely at any time. And Latif Jassim, the information minister, said that Iraq was fully prepared to meet any such threat. He also singled out Mrs. Thatcher for particular criticism. From Baghdad, our Foreign Affairs editor, John Simpson.
Mr. Jassim is very close to President Saddam Hussein and was present at the meeting yesterday of the armed forces leaders, at which the country was alerted to the possibility of war. His task today was to reinforce the message that it could come at any time.
We get many signals that America is about to take the decision of the war, so we are ready. And we are not afraid, because you know that our morale is high.
He went on to attack Britain, which is often criticized here more harshly even than the United States.
Popularity of Thatcher now is very bad. So she is always speaking about the war, about the United Nations decision, about Iraq. She thinks that this speak perhaps will raise its popularity. But she must know that there is British soldiers